everybody, I'm a steel sculptor from Ashford in Kent, and I thought I'd bring you up to date with one of my projects. I'm 2 weeks into a commission and quite excited about this one because it's quite an interesting commission for a couple down in the West Country. And yeah, well, because of the coronavirus and the inability to be able to go and do as many site visits and things that I wanted to, they've sent me pictures. They've sent me a picture of a fantastic, almost monolithic rock in their front garden, which they're hoping to have a leaping angry dragon leaping off it. And this is the rock in question. Now, what they've also done, they sent us lots of other pictures as well, including scale pictures and pictures of them putting a tape measure up against it. They've given me a bit of video of going up to the house as well, which is quite interesting and gives me a really good idea of its situation, which helps me in the creative process, if you like, of exactly what it's going to kind of look like sitting on this rock. So this is where I am now. I'm diddling and doodling and coming up with the proportions of the thing. And yeah, extended them to slightly larger drawings when I got home, but kind of know what I'm doing. So this is the first 2 weeks in, and it'll look like I'm nearly finished, and I'm really not. I am really not. It takes so much longer. But anyway, so I took a few days to get myself set up for this. I did a lot of peening and bashing, and I'm just starting to do the neck and the inner core of the head, if you like. The rough structures going on here. I'm also doing some sort of making sure things are in proportion as well, and everything else. And by the end of the first week, I've got a duck-like head, and by the beginning of the second, about halfway through the second week, I've got a bit more of an interesting head going on. I'm starting to get a scale of the body going on now. I kind of know how long the tail's going to be and what it's going to be doing as well. I've only made half its teeth, and I was also fully aware that this is going to be really quite structurally sound. It's got to put up with gale force winds, it's got to put up with something hanging off it possibly. You know, you've got to account for everything really. So once I got me outer shape and I was kind of happy with that, I didn't want to restrict myself by making a frame and then the frame not being quite right and then compromising with the outer shape. So weirdly enough, I started with the outer shape first, and then I'm putting a bit of an inner frame in. So that's what I'm up to now. I want to end up with 2 fairly substantial pins coming out that I can drop the wings on, because I want to make this so you can take it apart. And from then, I really want to put a cage within this tube, if you like, in the torso and tail, that I run all the way back to the tail to attach to the rock. So everything's pretty strong. You know, that's what I'm up to. And the big pin coming out through the bottom of the torso, well, that's simply for me that I can cut off at the end of the job, so I can easily mount it and work on it and turn it around. I can put it in fact I've got an old concrete mixing frame, and it just goes in there quite nicely. I can change the height whenever I want. I can spin it around however I want to. Excuse me. Right, and I've also got this absolutely invaluable magnetic table that I use for everything, and I'm doing some topical tip films as well, so I'm putting little films together that I think might be helpful for the light engineering lot. Might not be everybody's cup of tea, but it'll give you an idea of what I do and how I do it. And with this particular case, I find this little magnetic table superb, absolutely superb, for just giving flat things a bit of a clean up. That wasn't its original purpose, but you have to watch the other little films to find out what that was originally for. And I'm now back on my fly press. Now, a fly press is an ingenious machine. It was, you know, what made the Industrial Revolution really. This is a machine that doesn't need any power, but can put a huge amount of force and power onto one small area. And how does it do that? Well, it's got a very fast thread on it. It's also got, on that handle, you'll notice a big steel ball. Well, that gives it a bit of kinetic energy as I'm spinning that. And what I'm actually doing, I've got, if you can imagine a big steel donut, and the hole in the donut, I've put a thin piece of steel over the top that's just a little bit bigger than the hole. And then attached to the fly press, I've got a ball. So as I turn that handle, it's going to press that ball, try and press through the hole, but of course there's a plate in the way, so I'm hoping it's going to bend that plate. So I end up with a nice disc. Now this is fairly thick material that I'm working with here. I want it to be thick for where it's going. It's just the right size for what I want. I'm going to be using it for a little bit of jawline and a bit of head, and in this particular case I'm making the shoulders. But I don't want them completely round, I want them a little bit oval, and I want them sort of like a squished circle. So once I've made them into domes, I'll put that piece of angle iron in the fly press, slide in my little plates under there, whacking them with that, and that just turns them in a little bit more. And any fine adjustment I can then do in a vise or smack it about with a big hammer. But that's where I am now. I'm trying to make these big shoulder pads. Now the shoulders I'm using as locators as well. I want to make this detachable, makes it easier to work on, makes it certainly a lot easier for galvanising purposes and everything else. So I like to make things in a few pieces if I can, and then take them to site and assemble them on site. And if they ever need repairing or maintaining in any way, it makes life a little bit easier as well. And there you are, there's one of my shoulder blades. I think it's going to take 3 discs per shoulder blade. And there's my head that's coming along quite nicely, and there's bits of body and stuff laid all over the place. Now within the body I'm going to need a cage work, so it will cope with all the stresses and strains of having these big wings hanging off it and hanging off a rock as well. And I'm trying to make it lightweight, so I'm making an aircraft fuselage, I suppose. That's about the closest thing I make, where it's a good strong frame with a thin skin on it, and that's kind of what I'm doing. I've also got to allow the liquids to come out, because the process of galvanizing and putting a zinc coating on the outside, it's dropped into chemical tanks, and yes, you've got to be able to let the liquid out. So yeah, there's lots of things to think about here. I know I've got my scaling about right. I'm quite pleased with these shoulder blades. They're about the right shape, right size. And the big centre pin, like I say, going through the concrete mixing base, is solely there to help me work on it really. Now, I needed to mess about with the eyeballs. I enclosed the head, got a bit carried away on the Friday afternoon, and come back Monday morning and realised I need to put some eyeballs in. So I carried on doing the teeth till I got bored, and then cut the head off, and this is why I am now making some eye sockets. I filed them out by hand in the end. I could have heated them up, put the ball in through the other side and given it a good old smack. That would have given me a bit of an eye socket, but hey ho, it's worked out very well by hand. And you can see I'm starting to get my shapes here as well. So 38 degrees the temperature for what, 8 days, maybe 9 continuous. At one point I think it even touched 40 degrees in my friend's workshop, but in my little old shed, yeah, it got to 38. And absolutely style, and kept it up all day. It was 38 by 9 o'clock in the morning, and didn't let off until I finished the day. So 2 weeks later, this is where I am now. You may think it's finished. I have barely started this project. I've been a bit of a cheat. I've done all the big bits first, so there's a huge amount of teeth, there's tongues, there's more tails to do, so don't think for one second this is anywhere near finished, because it's really not. But anyway, here I am. Thank you very much for listening to this little project that I'm up to for the West Country. Everybody please stay safe, and yeah, please subscribe if there's things here that are interesting you. I'm doing lots of other film footage and videos all the time, so yeah, watch this space. I only post about one a week. So thank you very much for listening. Stay safe everybody. Have a nice day. Ta-da now.